Hi, boys and girls. This is Ms. Kathy. I'm so happy you've joined me today for another story just for you. Rattler Crawling Up His Leg by Don R. Christman. We've made many trips together, but I think this is one of the longest and perhaps the hardest, sighed Pastor Paulo Seidel to his friend and traveling companion. Riding horseback is more wearisome than riding the launch, agreed Pastor Placido Pito, but a change is good for us. The two pastors were holding baptismal services and organizing Sabbath schools and churches in the state of Bahia in Brazil. As captain of the Luminar medical launch, Pastor Seidel often traveled a 500-mile stretch of the San Francisco River, treating more than 5,000 people each year. But since he was also president of the San Francisco Mission in eastern Brazil, he had to travel inland at times. Cars, buses, and trains were few, and members in out-of-the-way villages could be reached only by horseback. As they traveled, the men sometimes would go an entire day without meeting another person or passing a home. Simple foods, such as rice, beans, and mandioca meal, had to be carried along. Water was scarce most of the time, but by refilling their jugs when passing small streams, they avoided emergencies. At night, they slept in hammocks tied to trees. During the hottest part of the day, they usually stopped under the trees, cooked their simple rations, and took a nap. The blazing noonday sun was too energy-sapping on them and on their faithful horses. About 11 o'clock in the morning on the third day out, the travelers came to a clump of trees close by a stream of clear water. "Okay, Pastor Placido, this is it," announced Pastor Paulo. "I'm getting hungry. Let's make this our noonday spot." They let their horses amble over to the stream where fresh grass grew abundantly. The men set to work constructing a fireplace with some half-dozen stones, and in less than 10 minutes rice was cooking over the fire. Pastor Placido left the fire and walked over to two stout trees nearby. "I think I'll tie up my hammock and have a little rest while that cooks," he said. Pastor Paulo lay down on the ground. "I'll sleep right here. It feels good to stretch out straight for once." About 15 minutes later, Pastor Placido happened to turn sleepy eyes toward his friend sleeping comfortably on the ground. Instantly he was awake, and his eyes were wide open. He almost yelled, but quickly controlled himself. Within a few inches of Pastor Paulo's leg was a fat, writhing rattlesnake at least 3 feet long. "Don't move, Pastor Paulo, or you're dead," Pastor Placido whispered excitedly. "Lie still. Please don't do anything." Pastor Paulo obeyed. A moment later, he was shocked out of all sleepiness as the cold, lithe creature crawled slowly up his legs and across his stomach and chest. The pastor closed his eyes and lay motionless, although his heart was pounding much harder than usual. "Will it ever leave?" he asked himself. "Will it ever leave?" Slowly, the thick, cold serpent seemed to be drawing a figure 8 over his body. "Send thine angel, O Lord, if it be thy will. I'm in thy service," he prayed silently. His friend was praying too, and at the same time trying to plan a way to attract the snake away from Pastor Paulo. Time passed. It seemed like hours, even though it really was only a matter of a few minutes. Finally, taking its own good time, the deadly creature slithered to the ground and wriggled away. With sticks and stones, the two men took the offensive and killed the deadly intruder. "I've seen some big rattlers, but that was the fattest and healthiest yet, and to think that it really had me down," exclaimed Pastor Paulo. "I can see why a serpent makes a good representation of Satan. To me, it's such a hideous creature," added Pastor Placido. "But the Lord heard our prayers, and we can thank him once again for protecting us. Now we have one more reason for being even more faithful in doing his work." "How true! He is always with us. Say, the fragrance from those pots is really good. My appetite is coming back. Let's eat," suggested Pastor Paulo. And that is what they did.
The story you have heard today is from Guide's Greatest Stories, written by various authors and compiled by Randy Fischel, and used with permission from the Pacific Press Publishing Association. If you're interested in any other books published by the Seventh-day Adventist Church, please visit AdventistBookCenter.com or call 1-800-765-6955.
This podcast is a production of the Carolina Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.